Hey guys, my name is Karud and welcome back to Octane Street, the road here on YouTube that never ends. And today, sitting behind me is my beautiful dream 2006 Mustang GT. Speaking of which, this video is going to be my 1 month ownership on this car. And now, as most of you guys should know, it is my dream car. So to keep this video short, simple, and sweet, we're going to be talking about the good, the bad, and did it live up to everything I hoped and expected that it would. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Alright guys, so to kick things off, we're starting with some of the good things, which is the sound. Now this is a GT, a Mustang GT, and it has a beautiful V8 in it, and I'll go ahead and play a sound clip for you guys here. But the sound is extremely hard to beat. I think you can only beat it with like a supercar or one of these, but like with more bolt-ons such as cams and long tube headers, stuff like that. So I absolutely love the sound. Next we have the power and the power delivery of the vehicle. Being naturally aspirated, the curve is extremely linear, it's super predictable, and it makes for a blast to drive. Now I know a lot of people like those turbo and supercharger punches, so to say, and I can definitely say that I do notice a huge difference from driving this versus my Veloster in terms of how that power comes on. But I really like that I'm gonna use the word natural because that's how it feels, the natural feeling of a naturally aspirated engine, and how that power comes on is just so linear, and it makes for a perfect crisp sound when revving out the gears, since again that power band is just nice and smooth as opposed to spiking once that turbo kicks in. The third thing on my list is gonna be how this car makes you feel when you drive it. Now it might just be me, but every time I drive this car, it almost feels like an occasion. I understand why people have these cars as their weekend warriors, or you know, track day cars for the ones that are a little bit more fine-tuned. But it really makes it feel like a special occasion every single time I take it out, whether it's to go to the grocery store or to go pick up my wife. And to go along with that, I'm also going to throw in that there's a sense of community behind Mustang. With the Veloster, sure, there was a community, although very small, but with the Mustang, it's a much wider and broader community. And having driven one for the past month now, I can say that you do get a lot of those looks, nods, and waves from other fellow Mustang owners, which is a great feeling, and it makes you feel like you're someone. It makes you feel like you're almost important, and it's just a really good feeling overall. So I'm glad to have that sense of community with this vehicle, and to be able to share that with just another bunch of, you know, happy Mustang owners. And for the last thing on this list, I'm going to say that this car really does seem to inspire kids and children when you're driving it down the road, because more often than not, I'm getting kids smiling and waving and yelling out at me, hey, nice car. And I really do find that important, because this is my dream car and I fell in love with it when I was a kid, and I grew up my whole life wanting one. And if I could do that for another kid or multiple kids, inspire them to be car people just like you and me, then I think that is something great and can also help our community for the future. And also to hopefully give them a memory of that time a really cool or nice looking Mustang drove by, and they were able to hear it, to experience it, because in the future, as we all know, most cars are going to be electric. That's just the way of the future. It's better for the environment, it's more efficient, or it's going to be more efficient, and they're just more effective, and that's going to be the way of the future. So every time that I could put a smile on a kid's face to hopefully inspire them to be car people, that's something that I consider a win in my books, because at the end of the day, what made me a car guy is seeing all these cool cars drive by on the highway whenever I'd be in the back of my mom's Jeep. So with that being said, now it's time for the bad. Now I can't lie to you guys, there aren't many complaints that I have with this vehicle at all, which, as you can imagine, I'm extremely ecstatic about, because it is my dream car and I've never really driven one before actually purchasing one, and honestly I couldn't be happier with my decision. But regardless, to kick things off with my list of bad things, I'm gonna start with, of course, the elephant in the room, the fuel consumption. Now I know this is something that's gonna come with the vehicle. I know everybody says, hey, watch out for that fuel consumption. I'm someone who likes to drive very spirited very often, and trust me when I say that does not help my situation or my wallet, because the car guzzles gas like it's water. So I know it's to be expected with a car like this. However, I didn't expect it to be as bad as it is. It does have a large fuel tank, but again, let's just say my miles per gallon are not that good. However, my smiles per gallon cannot be beat. Now the second and final thing on my list of bad is actually going to be quite simply the age of the vehicle. With any car that's over 15, some even 10 years old, there's going to be a lot of parts that you're going to need to change out, whether the previous owner took good care of the car or not. That's just the time where certain parts just kind of wear out due to like an expiry date. And so having owned this vehicle for the past month, there is a lot of different little tiny things that I do need to work on and get fixed and get changed or replaced or repaired in order to have the car up to snuff. But that's okay. It's my dream car. It's my project, and honestly, I just wish I had all the money in the world to be able to do everything I want to it all at once. Which leads us to the main question of today's video. Was it worth it? Did my dream Mustang live up to everything I hoped and dreamt it would be? Well, as you guys probably have guessed, of course it was worth it, especially for what I paid for the car. I think I got a really good deal, but even besides that, this car has definitely hit every single marker of what I thought owning a Mustang would be like, and it's definitely exceeded my expectations, both in terms of power. I didn't know the car had this much power and had this much of a visceral feeling, especially for an 06, and in terms of fun and enjoyment when driving the vehicle. But not only that, guys, I've owned the car for a month now, and every single time that I park or get out of my car, I end up staring back at it for a good 2 minutes, just admiring it. I all of a sudden I'm a professional photographer now, because everywhere I go I look at the car and I just want to take a photo of it, and honestly I couldn't be happier. I still to this day cannot believe that this car is mine and that I actually worked up and achieved my goal and my dream. And I'm really not kidding when I say that the feeling of owning this car is truly surreal. And of course, if there's anything in the world, especially a car that makes you feel the way that I'm describing, then you can't argue that it was definitely worth every single penny and much more. So even though I always have the keys, it's still much too hard to believe.